Patriots versus the Charlestown Chiefs. Brought to you by Sheehan's Rustproofing. The Chiefs have just come out on the ice for a warm-up period. They're about to try for their 5th consecutive win. They're getting a good round of applause from their own booster club, who have traveled all the way from Charlestown to be here in Peterborough tonight.
Need more energy throughout the day? Looking for a kick to your workout? RockinThatIDLife.com has you covered with delicious flavors you've grown to love in tropical fruit and mixed berry, but now fall in love with the new fruit punch and orange flavors. Try them all at RockinThatIDLife.com.
Realtor Mike Burgoyne with Real Brokerage LLC makes the moving process easier. Work with a realtor who plays and studies the game and will work as hard as the boys on the ice to get you the best deal. Check out Mike on the web at strikewithmike.com and jumpstart your move today. That's strikewithmike.com.
Welcome to episode 14 of season 12. This is episode number 423 all time of the often imitated, never duplicated Wee you, Arnold Palmer alert, who wants some Arnie Palmies? We're the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast. Let's go Blues Radio. Man, these jokes are tough when I'm alone. We'll get to that in a minute. Special thanks to our sponsors, RockinThatIDLife.com, StrikeWithMike.com, and CenterIceBrewery.com for proudly sponsoring the show. Please check them out. Also, don't forget to check out our t-shirt shop at letsgoblues.com for some well-designed and fairly priced Blues-themed t-shirts. It is Wednesday, August 9th. We're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. To interact with the show on social media, our handle on all social channels is LGB Radio. Just search for us and you'll find us. And if you haven't already done so, please like, follow, subscribe, ring the bell, buy a t-shirt from our shop, hire a Skywriter, or do whatever you can do to help us out. I'm your host, Jeff Ponder, and I'm supposed to be joined by a few people, but that has not happened as of yet. Kurt Price and producer Austin hopefully will be joining me in a little bit. Bill Day is on assignment. The agenda for tonight includes discussion about reveals of the third and fourth centers on the Let's Go Blues Radio St. Louis Blues all-time team. All that and more on this loud and obnoxious episode of Let's Go Blues Radio. So, as I said, I think this is actually the first time ever in our 13 years of doing this show. 12 years of doing this show. We're coming up on our 13th season that we have gone live with just one of us. Again, I think Kurt and Austin are planning on being here, but just got held up, and I said, I don't want to start the show at 10 o'clock, so I'm just going to go ahead and go, and whenever you guys can get here, great. Love to have you on, but if you're listening or watching the show live right now, help me out here. Get some comments going. That way I got somebody to talk to. I'm not just talking to myself. But I'm happy to do this either way. I just wanted, because especially since we missed a show last week, I wanted to get something out this week. There's plenty of stuff to talk about, well, in terms of Let's Go Blues Radio, because we've got our live reveals. But, yeah, there's plenty of things for us to talk about in that term. Plus, there is one bit of Blues news that I will get to here at the open. But, yeah, so I want to apologize off the bat that we did not have a show last week. I know I said on social media that Jeff had a family emergency. Emergency can be taken. It's always taken in the worst way, right? It really wasn't. I don't want to say it was fully an emergency. It was more just a situation that occurred right before we went on the air, and it was just something that could not be ignored. So with me kind of running this and it being, my baby over the summer, doing the summer series that I always do, it's just hard for somebody else to step in and run it. So when I can't do it, it's just hard. Plus, it was just Bill and Austin that could have done it. So I know they would have been uncomfortable kind of revealing the work that I've put in. So we went ahead and just said, let's just cancel the show this week. We'll come back next week strong. I don't know if strong is the right word, we being the only one here, but I will do my best to keep you entertained. And I'm sorry you got to stare at this ugly mug the whole time. But again, I think Kurt and Austin do plan on being here as soon as they can jump on. So we will go ahead and get right into it. As I said, there is one bit of Blues news, And again, folks, this is the early days of August. So this is when I feel like you really feel like starved for some hockey content. This is our hockey content this week, folks. The Blues have replaced All Together Now as their slogan, and they are going with Rhythm and Blues. The franchise started using All Together Now in 2017, and maybe this is just something that's interesting to me. I'm a former marketing director. I've worked in marketing in the past. I still work with what I do. I do work with some marketing folks. So, this is interesting to me. They're going with this rhythm and blues thing, and to accompany it, the Blues have also partnered with, and I forget, the National Blues Museum to recognize International Blues Music Day, which was on August 5th. But I know they're sponsoring a bunch of events to kind of roll out this new slogan of theirs. On August 5th, they did the National Blues Museum, Blues on the Block. August 11th through 12th, the Gateway Arch Park Foundation, Blues at the Arch. I know they're a part of that, as well as coming up on September 9th and 10th, the Kranzberg Arts Foundation is holding Music at the Intersection. I don't know. I've never heard of any of those, I'll be honest. But since the Blues are involved, now I'm at least interested. So I guess that is something that those organizations are probably happy to hear, that, hey, maybe Blues fans didn't hear about this before. Now they're hearing about it because the Blues are involved. So in terms of marketing, great for them. I will say that Rhythm and Blues as the slogan of a professional sports team. It's a little weird. I don't really get it. I mean, again, I know the team's obviously named after the style of music. We've got blues music that a lot of times they'll play on the concourse. And it's cool enough. Don't get me wrong. I like it. I love sitting out on the concourse before games and listening to the music. And obviously, there's a lot of blues ties in with music. But it just feels weird. All Together Now was great because it felt like such a good slogan to me, at least, because the Rams had left and it was just like hey, St. Louis, we're all in this together. Let's heal together. We still have the Cardinals. We still have the Blues. MLS is coming, which, obviously I think it took a little longer than all of us expected. But, I loved that slogan because it was about the city. I don't know. Rhythm and Blues just, I just don't know what that does. I guess I'll be interested to see how further they go with this. Like, are we going to start seeing, like, since they're getting rid of the theme nights basically across the NHL landscape, are they going to start implementing blues music more in the games? Maybe even in the telecasts? I don't know. We'll see. It's an interesting move. I'll be interested to get the other guys' take, if they even care. I mean, for one thing, I think a lot of people just don't even care. It's just a strange mix, I think, for a hockey team. Again, I know we're named after a style of music, and obviously St. Louis Blues by W.C. Handy in 1914 was huge, but a big part of them naming it after that. But it just feels weird. Rhythm and Blues. It just doesn't. I don't get it. I get it, but I don't get it. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll listen into other radio shows and tell me if they're even talking about this. They're probably not. But if they are, I'd love to hear what other people think about this. And hey, tell me what you think about this. If you're listening to the show live, comment right now. Otherwise, hit us up on social media if you're listening to the podcast, because I don't get it. And I love music. Don't get me wrong. It's just a weird thing to have that as your slogan when you're a professional hockey team. Just doesn't fit to me, but what do I know? All right. Well, we are going to go ahead and take our first commercial break. When we get back, we will reveal the number 3 and 4 centers for the St. Louis Blues all-time team. You are listening to Jeff Ponder right now on Let's Go Blues Radio. On the other side of this break, we'll come back with some more Blues talk.
We'll return after these messages.
Every beer league hockey night, I grab my hockey bag and sticks and throw them in the trunk of my car. And the very next thing I do I mix up a boost of energy courtesy of RockinThatIDLife.com. It's formulated to break up its delivery in 3 ways, which helps me get through all 3 periods of hockey. Phase 1 provides a rapid onset of energy, concentration, alertness, and motivation. By period 2, I'm receiving a dose of sustained energy, increased focus, metabolism, cognitive function, performance, and feelings of well-being, which I need with the way I play. In Phase 3, I'm getting fatigue protection without jitters and crash, an elevated mood, and a reduction of fluid retention to help me make the big play when it counts. This same triphasic approach helps me when I drink it during work hours or simply just for a pick-me-up when I need it. Try one of the 4 energy flavors by visiting RockinThatIDLife.com, but make sure to email Dustin at RockinThatIDLife@gmail.com and tell him Let's Go Blues Radio sent you to receive an additional 10% off your order. That's RockinThatIDLife.com.
Center Ice Brewery is a beer lover's dream for hockey fans. Based in St. Louis, Missouri, owner Steve Albers has been brewing hockey-themed favorites for thirsty sports fans since 2017. From the Beauty IPA to the Old Arena Lager, a cold, frosty, hockey-themed beer is just what the doctor ordered for hockey fans in St. Louis. Make sure to check your local beer store for Center Ice Brewery beer today. LGB. Let's go beer.
During the magical 2019 playoff run, I was in the midst of buying my current home. Every time I spoke with my realtor, obviously, home buying was the discussion. But in the back of my mind, I couldn't stop thinking about what was destined to happen for our St. Louis hockey team. If only there were a realtor who could have walked me through the process, held my hand when needed, but was there to be a sounding board when I wanted to complain about a certain hand pass goal. Let realtor Mike Burgoyne with Real Brokerage be that for you. He'll have your needs top of mind as he skates you through the home buying or selling process, dangling you past any obstacles and assisting on all your home goals. Check out strikewithmike.com for more information or give him a call directly at 314-753-4060. That's Mike Burgoyne with Real Brokerage at strikewithmike.com, and that number again is 314-753-4060. Don't forget to tell Mike that Let's Go Blues Radio sent you.
And now, back to Let's Go Blues Radio, the longest running St. Louis Blues podcast with Price, Ponder, and Day.
I was so caught up in being worried about doing this myself, I forgot to do my beer of the episode. I do not actually have a beer tonight, but I am rocking that ID Life. That is hard to see with my lighting, but I am rocking that ID Life tonight. Tonight I'm drinking some energy flavor, the pina colada flavored energy tonight, which is great. They just brought this one back. It's been gone a while. It does taste like a pina colada. So for those of you who like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain, this is just for you. Great flavor. And obviously I have beat the drum of this energy stuff that comes from RockinThatIDLife.com. I'm not kidding when I say this. Just because they're a sponsor, I don't have to support them myself. I choose to. I definitely get. I have 2 of these a day, every day. I have one in the morning, keeps me going throughout the day, and then about 1 o'clock, when that 1 o'clock afternoon hits. For those of you who work in an office, it's always that kind of time right after lunch where you just start dragging. I have another one, picks me right up through the end of the day and then into the evening. So, gives me the energy to still be a family man as well as soon as the office day is over. So definitely recommend, if you've not had it, again, RockinThatIDLife.com. And this is the new pina colada flavor. I know right now they've still got I'm drawing a blank on the name, but the orange one that tastes like Tang is very good, as well as the wild berry and I believe tropical punch is the other one. I have them all those flavors upstairs because, as I said, it's nice to have a variety, and I use them every single day. RockinThatIDLife.com. And of course, remember, email Dustin at RockinThatIDLife@gmail.com to get 10% off your first order. And if you have ordered before and you never emailed Dustin, still send him another email and he will get you that 10% off. All right, so we are revealing the centers 3 and 4 for the Blues all-time team. For those of you that remember, 2 weeks ago, we left you with revealing that Bernie Federko and Ryan O'Reilly were the first 2 centers on the roster. Federko was a no-brainer. O'Reilly, and I know I said this at the time, kind of, I don't want to say a no-brainer, but was not a surprise pick. Even though his time here was technically short, I think that was a good pick. When it was voted that way, I thought, good for you, St. Louis fans. You know, maybe that love for him dwindles a little bit with him playing the next couple of years in Nashville, but I think it makes sense for him to be on this team because, again, he's, well, first Conn Smythe winner in Blues history, obviously a giant part of the Blues winning the Stanley Cup. So I have no problem with that guy stepping in. Plus, just I know some might disagree. I thought he was a great leader as a captain after Pietrangelo left too. So no problem with that. So if we remember the 35th year team, that was led by Bernie Federko, of course. Then it went to Adam Oates, Gary Unger, and Red Berenson. So we will see if Oates, Unger, and Berenson make this team. So our first reveal, it is somebody who was on that 35th year team, and it was the guy that was number 2 on that team, and that is Adam Oates. Adam Oates had 5 All-Star games, 1991 and 1992 as a St. Louis Blue. He was traded to the Bruins 20 days after that 1992 All-Star game. And, of course, he did play in 3 more All-Star games outside of being a Blue. We've talked about the contract issue with him. For those who don't know, look it up. Basically, he signed a new contract and then instantly wanted to renegotiate because he and Brett Hall had some of the best chemistry we have ever seen. And when I say we, I mean hockey fans, like ever. Just one of the best 1-2 punches to ever play in the NHL. It's a shame we didn't get that longer. And it's a shame because to me, it's a black mark on Adam Oates' legacy. Because that was just, oh man, could you imagine? Would Brett Hall have had another 86 goal season? That's a whole other thing. We'll get into that maybe here in a minute. So best season as a Blue from Adam Oates, 1990, 1991. So he had 61 games played, 25 goals, 90 assists, 115 points. He was a plus 15. Lots of notes from that season. He is the all-time season leader in assists with that. So he had 90 assists that year. And so second to that was Craig Janney, actually just 2 years later at 82 assists. So again, 90 assists in a year. That is a season all-time leader for the St. Louis Blues. Again, since Janney, no one has come close. That was a great, great year for Adam Oates, of course, setting up Brett Hall. He has the second best point total in a season by a Blue. Of course, that same year, Brett Hall put up 131 points. So, again, talking about the 1-2 punch, Brett Hall, most points in a season, and then right behind him within the same season was Adam Oates at 115 points. And then also that season, all-time best points per game leader that season in Blues history. So he had 1.89 points per game. That trumps anything Hall did, Federko did, anyone else in Blues history. Just super impressive. And to go along with that last stat, he is number 1 all-time in the franchise as a points per game. He had 1.47 points per game as a St. Louis Blue, which is insane. Almost a point and a half for the games he played. So again, short time here in St. Louis, not long at all. Actually, I do not have how many years. I want to say it was 3 years in total here in St. Louis. 195 games played, 58 goals, 228 assists, and 286 points. Looks like he spent, 2.5 years basically here in St. Louis, and was traded. Obviously, was sent to Boston, and still had a career after that. We are joined. Well, he's giving me the 1 minute sign. Hold. Looks like Mr. Austin Lynch has joined us. So, Austin, whenever you're ready, just put yourself on. But yeah, we're talking about Adam Oates right now. So yeah, Adam Oates, just again, we talk about Ryan O'Reilly having a short time here in St. Louis. Adam Oates also had a very short time, shorter than Ryan O'Reilly in St. Louis, but the impact that guy had was ridiculous. Does Brett Hall, I asked the question earlier, does Brett Hall have another 86 goal season if Adam Oates stays longer? But in the same breath, does Brett Hall get to 86 goals without Adam Oates? I think the answer to that is no. So it's definitely worthy. I think Adam Oates gets on this team, even though he was here such a short time. Just the impact he had was massive. But I will break there and welcome in producer Austin. There he is. What's up, producer Austin? How are you?
What's up, buddy? Nothing. I just got home from work and was like, well, I should probably do that. And then I saw your message. I was like, ah, shit.
That's all right. Yeah, Kurt said he was coming on, and then I think he does pickleball Wednesday nights over the summer, so I think he's just running late. And I said, I could wait till about 9:45, 10 o'clock, but I'm like, I don't want to go until 11:30 tonight, so
Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So
Hey,
that's
by the way, you're missing something.
What am I missing? Oh, well, I didn't need a background because you weren't on here yet.
Well, whatever, Ponder.
There we go. So what do you know about Adam Oates? There's
Jack.
a good question.
Crap.
Okay.
Not a lot.
All right.
Yep.
That's fine. This is why I was hoping Kurt would be here. This is Kurt's favorite player of all time, and I wanted to make sure he was on this show. So hopefully we get him on here before we wrap up. But if not, I know Kurt will have something to say about Adam Oates being on this team. I know he'll be happy about it. But yeah, without Adam Oates, Brett Hall does not reach 86 goals. He doesn't. I mean, I think Brett Hall at the end of the day, because, he still had some good centers with Craig Janney and other guys that stepped in. Adam Creighton had a good year with him one year. I think Brett Hall, without Adam Oates, still becomes this elite Blues player of all time, but I don't think he reaches the milestones he does without Adam Oates setting him up for those 2.5 seasons. So I think it's more than worthy. And it's funny, Austin, because Bernie Federko, clear far and away number one on this team. I don't think there's anyone that would question that. But 2 and 3 have gone to guys that had pretty short stints as Blues, Ryan O'Reilly and Adam Oates. So just goes to show that sometimes it's not a matter of longevity. It's a matter of being able to just have an impact in the short time you're there.
Yeah.
We'll get some comments here. We got Matt Harris. Matt, how you doing, buddy? Good to there's some Arizona Coyotes news swirling around today. I don't know if you saw that, Austin, but I wonder if Matt's happy about that. He says, hi, Dad, and Stone Cold Steve Austin Lynch. All right. That's a long nickname, but we'll take it.
Could I give a hell yeah?
Best center in Blues history. I think he's talking about Adam Oates. Best center, yes. Best center in Blues history. Pairs well with fresh fruit and berries. Yeah, Oates. Fresh and so funny. I've missed your humor, Mr. Matt Harris. So, yeah. Adam Oates, short time with the Blues, but definitely to me belongs on this team. Well, if you didn't know shit about Adam Oates, Austin,
I'm not going to know shit about this next guy.
You are not going to know shit about this fella. The second reveal for the St. Louis Blues, again, Gary Unger and Red Berenson were on that 35th year team. Do either of them make it here? One of them does. It is Gary Unger. And I know I saw some comments from people saying that it's a no-brainer that Gary Unger should be on this team. It's probably a shock to a lot of them that he drops to number 4 as the center here, but I think with a little bit of recency bias, I do think that O'Reilly and Oates do belong here as well. But Gary Unger, 7 All-Star games, all with the St. Louis Blues. His best season as a Blue came in 1972, 1973. He had 78 games played, 41 goals, 39 assists, 80 points, and was a +7. It's also worth noting that he put up that same point total in 74-75, but he did it in 80 games, 36 goals, 44 assists, 80 points, and was a -2. He is well known for being the NHL's Iron Man. He set the NHL record by playing in 914 consecutive games between February 24th, 1968 and December 21st, 1979. He completed that with 4 different teams, including the Toronto Maple Leafs, Detroit Red Wings, St. Louis Blues, and Atlanta Flames. Quick note on why that streak ended. It came to an end when Flames coach Al McNeil basically pulled a John Tortorella / Mike Keenan and sat him on December 21st, 1979. That was the only game he missed that season. And it was from a coach sitting him. So real power move right there, if you ask me.
I'd be so fucking pissed.
It's crazy. Who was it? I'm saying those guys. Mike Babcock was the one that did it, right? Where I don't remember who it was, but he was coaching Toronto, and I want to say they were playing in like Anaheim or LA, and the guy was going to be playing. He had been playing like every game. I can't remember who it was, and he sat the guy, even though the guy like had like 100 people coming to the game. He was his first game in like Southern California as a professional, and he freaking sat him for the game. And it was just, come on, man. What are you doing?
Mike Modano.
No, that wouldn't have been it. Mike Modano.
Mike Babcock healthy scratched Mike Modano and prevented him from hitting 1,500 games played by one game before Modano retired.
Okay, yeah, that was another situation. I thought there was something else though that he did. Yeah, that did happen because he was with the Red Wings this last season. Yeah, whatever, not important. Either way, Al McNeil, a guy that will go down in infamy as a dude who sat Gary Unger and stopped his Iron Man streak. For those wondering about the Iron Man streak, Phil Kessel currently holds the record at 1,064 and counting. Unger is now 4th behind Kessel, Keith Yandel, and Doug Jarvis. Obviously, Yandel and Jarvis have retired, but Kessel still going at this point. Stats with the Blues for Gary Unger, and these are kind of staggering. I don't think a lot of people... What?
You're wrong.
What?
Phil Kessel is not still going. It was ended in April.
What? Really?
Yeah.
He missed a game?
Pretty sure Vegas healthy scratched him at one point.
No way.
Because I remember this being a big thing, and I was like,
are you looking?
Or am I lying?
I'm thinking you're wrong, son. Yeah, 82 games last year. No, he was not sat. Because that doesn't include playoffs.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, I'm fucking stupid.
Yep, you are. No, I was going to say, man, I did this research. I know. Let's see. Kurt in the chat says Babcock set Chelios in a Winter Classic game. He says that's what you're thinking of. Okay, maybe that is what I'm thinking of. Man, there was... I know there was something, and maybe it was like an LA... Maybe it was Sutter. Daryl Sutter sat someone, and they were playing in Toronto. I don't remember, but I know there was something about somebody was playing their first professional game somewhere in front of their friends and family, and the coach sat them, and I can't remember who that was. Either way, doesn't matter. Matt Harris says Kessel was scratched during the playoffs, but the hot dogs taste all the same. I'm with you. I love when he posts pictures with the cup eating hot dogs. That's one of my favorite things.
Oh, fucking yeah.
All right, so Blues stats for Gary Unger. Again, these are pretty staggering, actually. Number 10 in games played at 662. Number 4 in goals at 292. Number 9 in assists at 283. Number 4 in points at 575. Number 3 in even strength goals at 203. Number 5 in power play goals at 86. Number 4 in game-winning goals at 40. And number 2 in shots at 2,469. So again, Gary Unger, a guy I never saw play. Austin, clearly you never saw play. I don't believe Kurt would have ever seen him play either, or Bill. But the legend continues. I know that for the longest time before Yandel and Kessel really climbed up the ranks of the Iron Man streak. It was always Jarvis and Unger were 1 and 2 as the Iron Men. So that was something that I know a lot of Blues fans talked about. My dad, I remember that was something he used to brag about. Oh, I saw every one of Gary Unger's game as a St. Louis Blue, and if I didn't see him, I was listening to him. So it was like a sense of pride of being able to see all of his games with the St. Louis Blues, and clearly a good player. A lot of people were saying at the end of Yandel's career, he was only playing because they wanted him to continue to get his record, which Kessel broke, I think it was 2 weeks after Yandel got the record. And, but yeah, I don't think that was the case with Unger. I think he was a solid player through and through, a first-line center on every team he played on. And again, 7 All-Star games. Yes, there was only 12 teams at the time he was with the Blues for a short period. And then I think it went up to 8 or 9 teams. 13 or 14 teams. But either way, still impressive that he was able to do all that as a St. Louis Blue, and I think very worthy of being here. Again, we rattled off the stats. A guy that is got his name all over St. Louis Blues records. We see him come back for events and stuff. So always a St. Louis Blue at heart. And I think very worthy of being in this spot. So let's go through some panelist rankings. So for the rankings for the Blues, we had Bernie Federko as number 1. Ryan O'Reilly is number 2. Adam Oates is number 3. So we actually had picked what the Twitter polls had also won. So those 3 were 1, 2, and 3 in our rankings. But at number 4, we had Red Berenson. Number 5, Pierre Turgeon. Number 6, Gary Unger. Number 7, Braden Shen. And number 8, Doug Gilmour. So I thought it was funny to see. When the Twitter polls first started, Pierre Turgeon was kind of in the lead. I don't want to say in the lead, but he was pretty high up. And I was like, good. Pierre Turgeon at least deserves a crack at making this team. And I was kind of upset that he ended up not making it. But then at the same time, I look at the names that did. It's kind of hard. Maybe you could take out O'Reilly and put him in. But again, as I said, O'Reilly's the first Conn Smythe winner in Blues history. Big part of that Blues Cup win. Recency bias plays in a bit. Then I thought, well, you could take out Oates because he's only here 2.5 years. But my God, the impact that guy had. And then, of course, Gary Unger probably actually deserves to be higher than what he was voted at. But you can't take out Gary Unger either. So it's like, where does Turgeon slot in? The answer is nowhere. So I just think that, unfortunately, this was, I say unfortunately, but unfortunately for Turgeon, I think that this was picked fairly. And I think he does sit on the outside. Now there's a chance he gets in as a utility player, as we still have 3 spots to fill for utility. So there's a chance we'll see Turgeon make that. But as of right now, no Turgeon. Let's run through it. No Turgeon, no Berenson, no Shen, no Gilmour. Berenson's a shock. You know what the record is Red Berenson has for the Blues, right, Austin? Most goals in one game. He had 6. And that is the NHL record. It's just held by 27 people. So, but yeah. And he had a long career here, too. So there was a couple shocks. I say shock, but it's really not a shock. A couple that didn't make it that might deserve to be here. But it's just, unfortunately, again, some of these guys you just can't take off the list. You just can't. How do you feel? I know that you're not as in tune with Blues history as maybe me, Kurt, and Bill are. But, how do you feel about O'Reilly being on here?
I'm kind of just going to reiterate what I said with the last show. I think he deserves it. He was a big part of the Cup team. Some could even say that he was the main reason that the Blues went as far as they did in the playoffs, or, helped bring the cup and, I mean, give the team a little bit of a boost, but also that was Berube more in February. So, I mean, realistically, who knows, like, where that team could have ended up if they kept, my God, who was it? Yo?
Oh,
Was it Yo?
God.
Who was it?
Yeah, it was Yo.
Okay, I was going to
2019.
say,
Yeah.
I'm like, who was before? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's
Like, who knows
well,
where that team would have finished in the standings if they did not get rid of Mike Yo and did not end up calling up Bennington.
well, I'll tell you right now, they would have traded off every piece they had. And
Like the
maybe now
Cardinals?
we'd have a team that we could say could compete for a cup.
Yeah.
Because that's what would have happened. You heard about the letter that not the letter, but the email that Armstrong sent out right at Christmas time. That was like, everything must go. Like it was like a fire sale joke he sent to all the GMs. Like basically, make me an offer. And luckily, he stood pat. Otherwise, I mean, you got to wonder. If they don't win that game in Philadelphia with Bennington and they don't go on that roll when they did, if they would have waited, let's say, another week, would Armstrong have started selling pieces off?
I mean, probably because realistically, like the unwritten rule is if you're not doing well after the or like before or after All-Star break, you sell. And I mean, I feel like that's kind of the unwritten rule. At least it is in baseball and kind of with hockey because, teams are, going in trying to get these big guys to win. And I mean, game's a game. It's whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm kind of surprised we did not start selling off those pieces. Like,
I think they would have held on to O'Reilly just because I don't know if they could have
So
moved his
new.
contract that quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, without him and without, I mean, everything had to fall in place. And that's the beauty of 2019. Like everything fell into place right when you needed it to. And I'll say again, talking about these centers and guys that belong here, that's the one thing that I really put with O'Reilly was he was the best Blues player all year long that year. When he came here, I remember the jokes being, and we said it on the show, the jokes being, poor Ryan O'Reilly. He leaves Buffalo to go to a winner, and he's on this shit show.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and he's playing hard. He's playing well. He's back checking and scoring goals. And it's like, but nobody else was doing shit under Mike Yo. And it was just poor guy. But luckily he kept playing the way he did all year long and was great. And again, probably outside of maybe Bennington, the biggest piece as to why the Blues won the Cup that year.
Yeah.
So votes for centers in this panel. I voted. So again, remember that we did not when we were adding players. We did not add the guys that were already on the 35th anniversary team, which again was Fedorko, Oates, Unger, and Berenson. So our additions, I had Doug Gilmour, Pierre Turgeon, Braden Shen, and Ryan O'Reilly, which all of those ended up being the ones that made it. Kurt had,
Kurt,
you know what?
Kurt will be here in a minute, by the way.
I know. I'm actually going to
Okay.
try and wait for him because I want to talk to him about one of his picks. You might know who it is.
I think I know exactly which one. Is it that one?
Yep. The one you just highlighted. Yep. And then Austin, you had Shen, O'Reilly, Backus, David Backus, and Ivan Barbashev, which you weren't the only one that voted for Barbashev, by the way.
I was not.
I was actually happy to see that because again, my whole goal with getting people from different ages, different whether they live in St. Louis or not, just all over Blues fan, trying to represent all the Blues fans. I wanted to try and get people like you that are younger and maybe have just started watching the team for a short while. So I was happy when I saw that you picked Ivan Barbashev. I was like, well, good. I'm glad he's getting some representation.
Yeah.
Bill also added Pierre Turgeon, Doug Gilmour, Ryan O'Reilly, and Braden Shen. So same picks as me. We are now joined by Mr. Kurt Price. Hello, sir. How are you?
Welcome, fellas. Or hello, fellas. Welcome. Hello, fellas.
Did we just join your show?
I've been here the whole time. Surprise.
Oh, you had some pickleball tonight? Is that what it was?
Yeah, and I had some errands to run afterwards, and I was just like real late getting back. So I couldn't miss the Adam Oates show, though.
I will say I do think, and I said this at the top of the show because Austin wasn't here yet either. I think in all the years we've done this show, this is the first time that one of us has gone live alone. So that was odd.
How's the levels on the audio? Am I okay? Because I had turned the knobs all the way down. Okay.
Am I also
good to me? All right. But yeah, so I do want to get your take on Adam Oates, but we are talking about our additional picks that we had to the 35th year team. And I want to talk to you about one of yours. So you picked Doug Gilmour, Pierre Turgeon, Ryan O'Reilly, and Wayne Gretzky. Why Gretzky?
Me? Because if I'm going to vote for Oates, okay, so I think with O'Reilly making the team, Oates making the team, players with short tenures here in St. Louis, obviously you're weighting your decision based on skill level played with this team. And I think if I'm going to vote for Oates, who didn't even play 3 full seasons here, I think a vote for Gretzky is fair, even though, I mean, where's the cutoff, right, for games played? I mean, I don't know if there is one. It's
no
for each individual person is different, and I have my gripes with Gretzky leaving, decide not to play here, and the whole lazy puck giveaway at center that most people hate him for in St. Louis. But I have no problem putting him on my list.
No, again, I don't think there's any right or wrong answers. I just thought it was interesting when I got your pick. I was like, I was wondering if we were going to get a Wayne Gretzky pick, and we did. So thank you, Kurt. So again, I'm going to go ahead and back up a little bit because I did mention that Adam Oates is your favorite player. We talked about, what are you doing, Austin? Do it. What are you doing?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Why are you asking permission?
I don't know.
Notice.
It's been a while.
The whole point of that is to interrupt the person talking.
That's part of your job description.
Is it?
I believe so.
It probably is. But anyway, so we talked about the All-Star games. And let me ask you, and I'll let you kind of run with this if you want. If Brett Hull, if Adam Oates stays in St. Louis, let's say he doesn't get traded, he doesn't want to renegotiate his contract, he stays a Blue. Do you think Brett Hull has another season like his 86-goal season?
It's hard to say he wouldn't. I mean, 86 is a lofty number. It's second most in NHL history. Most in a season ever with no empty net goals.
True.
Because Gretzky had, I forgot the number, like 10, 12 that season, something like that, when he had 92. So he actually only had 80, 82, something like that, goals on actual goalies. Like
what do they
86?
What do they call that? Like the like time period adjusted. There's some stat where it's like it adjusts for the competition, and it's like who had the highest amount of goals ever when it's adjusted. And Brett Hull still is number one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean it's later. It's what year was that? 92, 1? When did he get that?
It was 91.
Yeah, okay.
91.
So, and that's well after Gretzky's 92 goal season. So, the farther you go along in NHL history, the more talented the pool gets. Players get better, defenses get better, goalies have gotten substantially better. As time goes on. So even in the higher goal scoring era of the early 90s, that Hull was a benefactor of too, though. So there were a lot of goal scorers. Solani had how many? 72 rookie season, something like that. I think it was. So
72 sounds right.
Yeah, and so that's crazy. Rookie year, 72 goals. My God.
Yeah.
That was that era too. So a lot of goals were scored that era, but still, yeah, I know I've heard that too. That after adjustments are made for eras, Hull's number one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So so your thoughts overall. So we have number 1 Bernie Federko, number 2 Ryan O'Reilly, number 3 Adam Oates, number 4 Gary Younger. When you look at those names and the guys that were left off in the polls, do you agree with Adam Oates sliding in here as the number 3 center on this all-time team?
I think so. I think especially if you're going to have O'Reilly at number 2, because longevity isn't necessarily, like total cumulative numbers aren't necessarily something that a player may have to have for a lot of people, which is fine. So because O'Reilly at number 2 and Oates number 3, actually, I wouldn't say O'Reilly is the second most talented center that we've ever had. I would say he's not top 3 or 4 maybe, but he has that, the playoff MVP. So
I'll say I called it impact in a short period.
Absolutely. I mean,
I think Oates falls into that too.
Yeah, and that for O'Reilly. Without the cup, I don't think O'Reilly makes this list at all. Not even close. But yeah, that's a huge feather in your cap, right? To be such an important cog in that Stanley Cup team and bringing the first cup to St. Louis. I mean, that's people are forever going to love him here. And he didn't leave on as bad of terms as Pietrangelo did. I think Oates is. I would argue. I mean, Oates is the second most talented center that's ever played for this organization. And Federko is not number 1. I would say if you count just minimum amount of games played, Gretzky, Oates, Federko. I would say if Oates stayed his played with Hull his entire time here, I would say that Oates surpasses Federko's point total. If he plays 10 years here, which he didn't come anywhere close to. Now, granted, Oates did have Hull on the receiving end of his passes. Federko had never had quite that caliber of a winger to dish to either. So there's that. But you deal with the hand you're dealt. You play the hand you're dealt, and Oates played his dealt hand very well here with Hull, and it just. I heard you talk about on the way when I was going back home about Oates' contract issues, and that's still that. I mean, he's my favorite player of all time, but he was so dead wrong in what he wanted out of this team. You just because other players around the league have signed bigger contracts after you signed yours, right after you signed yours. You have no right, and that's a different era too, because you can't do that anymore. You can't renegotiate contracts anymore.
Nope.
So and Oates, he had already renegotiated too. They renegotiated it and gave him that contract, and then a bunch of players signed bigger contracts that didn't deserve to make more than Oates, but it is what it is. It happens, and Oates didn't like that, and he was like, "I want to renegotiate again." And I believe it was Shanahan at the time, right? He said no. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back for Shanahan was when Oates was named one of the stars of the game, maybe the number 1 or 2 star in a game. And he didn't acknowledge the crowd when he was pouting, right, about his contract situation. Yeah. Didn't acknowledge the crowd, just skated right off. And that ticked off Shanahan, and he went to Karan and said, trade him. Mm-hmm. Trade him. Yep. I want him gone. And that was it. And it's like, Oates threw a hissy fit and he was booted. And he had a great little run there in Boston too after he left here. So it wasn't just Hull. It was, he was, Neely had a nice season with Hull, with the Oates after Oates left here. So it wasn't just Hull that made Oates. It wasn't just Oates that made Hull, because Hull had a great year with Janney. They were just magical together, better than any other duo that, I've seen play.
Oh, I remember at the end of Oates' career, he signed, I want to say it was with Edmonton late in his career. And there was players that said that guy is, I think he was 40 when he signed with them for like 1 year. And guys were like, he's still the best passer in the NHL. Like, he puts it right on the tape, through sticks, through legs. He's still an elite passer in this game. And it's just, that's the kind of game he played. Now, obviously the jokes are always he'd have an empty net and try to pass it, but which he actually did do.
Well, that's to me, that's always been more of a Craig Janney thing.
Yeah, him too.
Than Oates, but because Oates put up some goals. I mean, he scored that season where he had 100 and got over how many points. He had 25 goals.
Points is the most he had with the Blues, and he had 25 goals
Yeah.
that year.
So I mean, he could score a little bit. Janney was the guy that I want to say Janney had like the most he had most goals in the season he had with us. Like I'm gonna guess, I could be wrong, like 14.
I have no idea. That's a good call.
I don't know. I don't want to sidetrack you.
Oh, it's okay. I get sidetracked easily.
I got it. Hold on.
Oh, he's got it. That's right. We got a
And a
producer here,
single
guys.
season?
Okay, he had 24 one year.
24, yeah. First season 6, second 24, third 16.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and that was his 106-point season. So yeah, I mean, Janney was a great center, but he wasn't Oates. He wasn't the same kind of player.
Yeah, I would love to have seen an Oates, Shanahan, Hull line. Like, see the chemistry that would have happened between them. Holy cow!
How do you stop that? I mean, that line has everything. That line has the physicalness from Shanahan. It has the arguably the best sniper in NHL history in Hull, and a passer who was like magic with Hull. I was just like, I mean, how do you stop that?
Yeah, you can't. So talking about other players, and Craig Janney's name is going to come up here. Other players considered for the center role. So these are guys that at least got one vote amongst the 12 panelists. Doug Gilmour, Pierre Turgeon, Braden Shen, David Backes, Jay McClement.
Who voted for Jay McClement? Was it you, Ponder?
I actually believe it was. I'll have to check. I don't want to say. I believe I know who it is, but I'll check.
Well, you know what? Okay, I maybe. Sorry to interrupt, but maybe if they're thinking, okay, he's my fourth line center. He's a good fourth line. Although if you're going fourth line center, I go Craig Conroy. Right?
His name's about to come up, son.
Okay.
Hang on, let me see. Hang on.
It was Vanessa.
It was Vanessa Graff. She voted for Jay McClement.
That'd be a good discussion, right? To have with her. It's like, let's talk about why you did. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong.
Jay.
Not saying it's wrong because I picked Gretzky, right? So that's
exactly.
So
that's what I love about
I would just love to hear. It's like, oh, okay, well, that I understand.
You wrong, bitch.
It was an unexpected name to hear. That's all.
No, it is. It definitely is. Ivan Barbashev, again, that comes from Austin. Patrick Berglund, which actually was not me, just so you guys know.
Who did
now
that?
I got to look and see who that was.
Who did
I'll
that?
tell you,
I have issues with that.
That was also Vanessa.
Come on, Vanessa. Let's go. Let's hash this out.
Wayne Gretzky, Craig Conroy, Jaden Schwartz, which surprised me. Because the problem is if you look at NHL.com, they have him listed as a center.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when have we ever seen Jaden Schwartz play center? So I think whoever it was that voted for him at center probably was going off what NHL.com has. And then
Dr. Nighthawk.
Oh, it was Nighthawk? Yeah, so
Okay.
Dr. Nighthawk went after that.
This would be a good round table with everybody that's submitted, to just discuss why they picked
So
it.
why?
So I'm not to be critical. I'm maybe a little bit, but I like to hear the rationalization for that. I'm sure there is a good one.
It's why I wanted all these different people, because I think it does make for fun discussion to say, why did you vote that way? The other two that I did not mention, Craig Janney, as we've talked about, and then Doug Waite also received a vote or two. So.
I think Doug Waite is a vastly underrated center for the Blues. He was good. He was just solid. He was on some bad teams, and I think he was kind of lost in that era. He was good.
Yeah, and I think that was the issue, right? They had the 2001 team that really should have won a Stanley Cup. Yeah. And then after that, they had that 1 year where if they would have beat Vancouver, it wasn't for the damn flu bug coming through the locker room, they probably have a pretty good chance that year. But outside of that, in Doug Waite's tenure, they were a downward spiraling team. And so I think people kind of like to forget that era. But I love Doug Waite. I was not happy with losing Turgeon, but I loved having Doug Waite on the team.
I think I don't think Turgeon gets enough love either. I think Turgeon was a tremendous center. But I mean, there have been some good centers. I mean, you can't. I mean, and people, like I said earlier, that if the longevity is not an issue, then there's so many good centers you can pick from.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I was talking before you came on that I was excited when I was watching the polls because Turgeon was in the top 4 for a good chunk of the poll. And then it wasn't until the very end that I think it was Unger pulled ahead of him. So let me ask you, like, looking at the 4 that made it, it's hard for me to say, like, okay, this person should come out because Pierre Turgeon does belong on this team. But who do you pull out of these 4 centers?
I don't have a list in front of me. What are they again?
Federico, O'Reilly, Oates, and Unger.
Federico, O'Reilly, Oates, and Unger.
Yeah.
Okay. Turgeon is a better center than O'Reilly, but O'Reilly has the cup, and that's a really hard thing to vote against, right, and take him off. But Turgeon's a better player. He was a better player than O'Reilly is. Better player with the Blues.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You think O'Reilly's getting into the Hall of Fame?
No. No.
Absolutely not.
No. And that's
Blues Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Blues Hall of Fame will go in, sure. Yeah. I mean, it's just there's only so many slots, right? It's like, give me your top 3 movies of all time. Well, I've got 20. I can make that list, right? It's just,
right.
It's tough.
Well, and like we talked early on when we were talking about this was going to be our summer series, we talked about how do you structure this? Is it structured, okay, let's just have the best 18 players of all time in a Blues uniform? Or is it, do we want to structure it where, like, who's on your first line? Who's on your second line? Who's on your third line? Because if you do that kind of thing, Craig Conroy's probably on this team. David Backes probably slots in as a center and not a winger. Like, there's a lot of different ways you could go with it. And I think, you look at it, Pierre Turgeon, I mean, that dude could play top line center on any of the franchise all-time teams he played for.
Matt Harris said Kurt's argument is literally just pointing at the scoreboard and dropping the mic. And I was like, yeah, that's true. It's like, anybody that making the case for Riley, it's like Stanley Cup, got the mic, walk away. It's true. It's like it's your trump card, right? I was like, okay, yeah, you can't argue the cup. And he was fantastic in those playoffs in that season.
Yep. Yeah, we were just talking, Austin and I, like just a kind of a what if scenario, because I think you would agree, because I think we talked about it a lot that season on the show. Ryan O'Reilly was consistently the best Blues player all year that year, because he was great when they were terrible.
Yes,
and
that's important.
We were even saying on this show, like, poor Ryan O'Reilly going from Buffalo to this shit show.
Mm-hmm. That's an important note, because, I mean, he wasn't, like Pietrangelo, for example. The first half of that season, he wasn't having a great year. Like the rest of the team was having a down year, right? And he turned it on second half with a bunch of the rest of the team when Bennington came on board and shortly after Berube took over. But O'Reilly was good pretty much the whole year. So he was doing it when the rest of the team wasn't. So, and I'm glad that he got the MVP, even though I thought if Bennington could have pitched a shutout in that last game, man, maybe he gets it. I don't know. That's tough.
I think he does, probably.
The only reason I don't think he does is because the games they lost at home that year, he got blown out of the building pretty bad, and that wasn't on him.
It was like 4 or 5 goals. The game 6 was not a good one. It was the It was 5
Yeah,
to
he got
5 to
pulled
1
in that game.
Yeah,
He got pulled, and they put in Jake Allen. And I think if it wasn't for that, I think maybe he gets 1 or 2
Maybe.
more votes and probably put him
5-1,
over O'Reilly.
maybe. I mean, maybe it's just because that Game 7 stands out so much, and there's just a handful of crazy great saves, especially in that first period, and then there's of course the famous pad save.
The
In
save.
the third period. Yeah, the save. So, I mean,
Yep.
the first period, without Bennington, we lose Game 7.
Yep.
Because, I mean, it could have been 3-0 Boston easy. So, and that's
3-0
yeah, I mean, I mean, any team that wins the cup, you've got a handful of guys that you could say, wow, if they didn't do this or that, then we lose.
Yep.
So that's
true.
It's kind of for every team.
Yep. Well, so talking about the coach poll just ended, so we know who the winner is there. It was between Craig Berube,
Craig
Bawubi.
Quake Bawubi, Scotty Bowman, Ken Hitchcock, and Joel Quinville. So that ended today. Actually, I have next week. It's actually going to be later this week. We're going to have our utility vote. So I'm going to do a little bit of math here, and I'm going to figure out 4 players that basically they got the highest vote total but did not make the team. So that includes names like Pierre Turgeon, Alexander Steen, Brendan Shanahan, Joey Mullen, maybe Kelly Chase. I don't know. Just throwing names out there. Barrett Jackman, I know, is another one. But so we'll have that out soon. And yeah, so make sure you vote on that, because if there's a player that you felt deserved to be on this team that hasn't made it, then that's their last chance to make the team. So there'll be 4 people considered and only 3. So the 3 with the highest vote total of those 4 players will be the only ones to make it. So there'll be 1 that'll be left off. So again, remember, when that Twitter poll comes up, comment why you voted the way you did or why you didn't vote for someone, and you could have your comment featured on the show, and you could win a prize. I do not have anything ready for this show. I think next week, unless something happens with the Blues, I've actually got an interview lined up, so I think we might take a break before we do our goalies. But I will announce a giveaway next week on the show. So whether we do a live one or I have an interview, whatever it is, since I missed it this week, I completely forgot to do it, actually. I know I'm the worst.
What do we have left to do? The goaltenders and the coach?
Goalies, coaches, and then the utility.
Okay.
So there's only 3 spots left for this team.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the rest of the roster, and I see some inconsistencies, I guess, with longevity here, playing a part with some players and maybe not so much with others, which is interesting to me.
Well, here,
let's
Scott
Stevens, for example.
I'm just doing this off the seat of my pants here. So there is the team now. So for those of you watching the video, I've got it filled out with all left wings, centers, right wings, and defense. We still need goalies, head coach, and the extras. But yeah, so why not? Let's run through this really quick. Your first line, left wing, is still surprising to me. Keith Tkachuk, Bernie Federko, and Brett Hall. Which of these does not belong, right? Second line, you've got Pavel Demitra, Ryan O'Reilly, and Vladimir Tarasenko. Third line, David Perron, Adam Oates, and David Backus. Fourth line, Brian Sutter, Gary Unger, and TJ Oshie. So that is your forward group.
I mean, we could do a whole show on why I'm confused why Shanahan is not on here, but
and Steen.
Yeah, I don't know. I just I mean, we talked about this. Didn't we talk about this in the show? Was that Shanahan beat the snot out of Tkachuk and is a better player? He's a better player. Beat him up. He doesn't make this list.
Yep, that's true. So on defense, we've got Chris Pronger and Al McInnes as your first pair. Second pair, Jay Bouwmeester and Alex Pietrangelo. Third pair, Barkley and Bob Plager. So defense is rounded out again. We still have goalie, head coach, and extras. But, I will say this did not well, okay, the defense, I think, shook out the way I fully expected it to. The forwards, for the most part, But man, I still look at some names again. I think Keith Kachuk, I'm fine with him on this team. I think it's weird he's at number 1.
Mhm.
I think Brian Sutter as the 4th left wing is fucking insane. And then I look at a name like TJ Oshie. What the hell are you doing here?
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah, very
TJ
odd.
Oshie over like Babbage or
And Joe Mullen?
Joe Mullen. Yeah, Joe Mullen. I mean, okay. So first of all, I just Joe Mullen should be on the team. He should be on there over Brackus, over Oshie, for sure.
Yep.
Probably over Tarasenko.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Actually,
he should be number 2, easy, not a question in my mind. And Shanahan needs to be number 1 on the left wing. I don't understand why, or Sutter or Shanahan, 1, 2, whatever. But yeah, and then the only issue I have with defense is Stevens, and I guess who would I take off? I'd probably take off Bouwmeester. And who would you rather have, Stevens or Bouwmeester? I'd take Stevens every single day of the week.
Stevens. Yeah. I think again with Bouwmeester, the way he departed, people just fell in love with him, which
and
is
he's
fine.
part of that Cup team.
And he had a great run in that Cup year. But man, outside of that, he was very unimpressive to me.
Yeah, and he played hurt for a couple of years, which like unknowingly played hurt. He started off well here, then had a couple of years where he was hurt. People were he was a whipping boy all the time. And if people forget that. Hey, Cup makes people forget all kinds of stuff. And then he had a good finish here. So after he got healthy again. So
So again, next week we may do our reveals for goalie, but that might be in 2 weeks. We'll see. Only really 3 shows left for this all-time team. We might have an extra one where we just kind of break down the whole team and talk about it. But overall, we're pretty close to being done. We're more than halfway there, guys. So just a couple more. I don't know if you guys have seen who won goalie. If you have, don't say it.
I have it up
but
right here.
Okay, well then, never mind.
I won't say anything.
Who would you think should be there?
My personal picks, you're asking. Basically
Personal,
who I would put there, whether or not they're there or not.
Yeah.
Man, you've got. I mean, again, the whole scoreboard mic drop, right? Bennington, and he won a cup. You've got Liut, who's the all-time wins leader. You've got Curtis Joseph, who maybe the best is the best goalie that's not in the Hall of Fame. I think. I mean,
I agree.
That's not recently retired.
But maybe him and Luongo probably holds that spot now. Maybe Lundqvist as well. But to me, one of the best goalies, top 3 goalies, I think, to never win a Stanley Cup.
He was just so good, and I think he was the victim. That Ducks team with Jaguar was on a mission that beat Detroit when Joseph was so good in the playoffs, but Jaguar was so much better. It was just crazy.
Yep.
No goals were scored in that series. And Joseph was just, I mean, you talk about an acrobatic goalie. So much fun to watch. I mean, Hasek was off the charts, acrobatic fun to watch, but Joseph was not far behind. I mean, he was so talented and so quick. Just so much. I mean, he's my favorite goalie, I think, of all time is Joseph. I love that guy. He was just so much fun to watch play.
Yep. Well, and don't forget we got names like Glenn Hall, who was on the 35th team, and then Brian Elliott, who has the best numbers all time.
Most
honestly,
shutouts,
Blues
best goals against
except
average,
wins.
best save percentage in Blues history, and he played here for didn't play here for half a season. He played here for like 4 or 5 seasons. So I mean, he was here for a long time, chunk. And he is statistically he is the best goaltender in Blues history. So there's some good goalies you can choose from, but if I'm gonna pick 2, I'll go with Bennington. I think he can do more too. And it's either Joseph or Elliott for me. And I'd probably say Joseph just because he did more elsewhere too in the NHL. So
yeah, well, don't forget, maybe we haven't even said yet.
Grant Fuhr. Yeah, my God.
I mean, he wasn't here a long time.
Friend of the show.
Man, he was good.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Grant Fior. Yeah.
And he had statistically had his best seasons with St. Louis. Goals against average and save percentage wise. Anyway, so
Yep. Well, he had some damn good defense in front of him too.
He did.
So
he
that
did,
helped.
and he did not have much defense in Edmonton when he won his cups either.
No. Oh, he pretty much had no defense.
It was just him back there.
Yep. All right. Well, any closing thoughts on centers here, fellas?
I'm glad Oates made it because I think he gets overlooked sometimes. Only playing 2.5 seasons here, so I'm glad he made it. Let's see. Let me look at the again here. Yeah, I mean, and Unger. I think the old school guys who like to pump up Unger on social media, I respect that because Unger was slightly before my time. I didn't get to watch him play, but I knew of him, read up about him, and everything you hear about the guy is just amazing. An amazing player, great player, never missed a game. So it's a solid top to bottom. Even though I think I had Gretzky, but it is what it is. You can't fit 6 quality centers in 4 slots. So
nope. Would you when you factor in the 35th anniversary team, would you still maybe slot Gretzky in there, or do you think there's just not enough room?
Oh, you mean with like Berenson and stuff? Like,
yeah, with all those guys, with Oates and Fedorko, when you factor in those, because with Gretzky, he would have been in your top 8 because those 4 automatically make it. Does he trump any of the 4 that made it here tonight?
If you don't count the cup, I'd say O'Reilly. But you can't not count the cup. So it's like, I mean, how much weight do you put on the cup versus the greatest player of all time? I mean, maybe I don't know. I mean, it's if I had okay, I would leave Gretzky off, I guess. Just because the time played here was just so short. It wasn't 2.5 seasons. It was was it 36 games or whatever it was?
It's like 34 games, I think.
So, that's not very much. Not even half a season. So, I mean, I would. Yeah, it's just Fedorko, O'Reilly, Oates, Unger. God, I like Gilmore. Turgeon. I would. Oh God.
I know that was the one that I'm like, where do I put Turgeon? Like, he's got to make this team for me, but I don't know how I fit him in.
Take out if you can't take out O'Reilly because of the cup. Do you take out Unger?
No, dude, his stats are
I'm
so
just
good.
saying,
I
but
hate
Turgeon
to say
is
that
a whole
because I can't. Okay. I want to not look at stats, but I have to with Unger. And again, you mentioned the old guys pumping him up on Twitter, like. Those guys saw him play, and I was telling Austin before you joined that my dad used to talk about how awesome Gary Unger was. So it's like, just out of principle, it's hard for me to take him out.
I don't know, man. Sundqvist needs to be on this team somewhere.
If we're just talking raw talent, you take off O'Reilly.
I think you're right.
To. But it just depends how much you got to weight that cup run. So. I would put Turgeon ahead of O'Reilly every day of the week, like I said earlier in the show. So it'd be Fedorko, Turgeon, Fedorko, Oates, Turgeon, Unger. If we're just talking skill level, maybe even Oates, Fedorko. Oates was that good. That's so.
Yeah, he was.
Like you mentioned earlier in the show, the points per game.
The stat that I mentioned.
I heard him. Yeah,
points per game, number 1 Blues all time.
1.4.
That's ridiculous.
Something. Yeah, it's like
1.47, almost 1.5 points a game.
I mean, that's nuts.
And
there's no reason to think that wouldn't have continued for a while with him and Hull. I mean,
yep. Oh yeah.
So
they were just money.
There's no wrong answers. It's just like when you place somebody in there, there's like this is agonizing decision in your head that you have a really hard time making that choice.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, Austin, anything from you to close up the show?
Nah.
All right.
Keep it short and simple.
Yeah. All right. Good to know. So again, next week we'll see what comes of it. The Blues, keep in mind, folks, as the summer goes on, if something big happens, the Blues do something, a trade or whatever, we will probably have a live show shortly after. So, but right now, as I said at the start of the show, it is August 9th. There's not a lot going on in the NHL right now. Our top story was with the Blues changing their slogan.
Woo.
So, yeah.
Rhythm and blues. That's
Before I close, your thoughts, guys. Do you give a shit, first of all? And if you do, what are your thoughts on rhythm and blues?
I thought All Together Now was fine, but I always think of when they launched it, they did the Twitter hashtag All Together Now for the Blues. Instead, it wasn't STL Blues, it was both, right? STL Blues and All Together Now. And if you wanted your stuff to be seen by people following certain hashtags, you had to flip and type in All Together Now, which is like half the alphabet. And it's like,
actually, I think it was All Together Now STL.
Was it?
Was.
No, that's even worse.
I think it was.
It's like too many characters. I mean, that was back before Twitter bumped up their character limit too. So we were like, yeah, it's like taking up a third of your post just by doing the stupid hashtag. That's why I was kind of like soured on that thing. Do I care about this? No, not unless it now, if they do a cool little a cool promotion with it, cool themed commercials or whatever, if they do something cool with it and fun, that's gonna determine whether I like it or not. If it's just a background slogan, who cares?
Yeah, that's what I said, is that it just feels weird to me, like rhythm and blues for a hockey team in St. Louis. I mean, I get the connection, but it's like, do something with it. Like, maybe the whole arena experience is different. Maybe we were hearing blues music more. Like, there's got to be something more done with it. You can't just make this change, promote the stuff they're promoting over the summer, and then just be like, okay, that's it. Like, you got to do a little bit more with it. There's got to be something else to lead into with rhythm.
They're running out of T-shirt designs, so they needed something new.
Plus, there's already a social media account with the rhythm name, so they're stepping on toes there. Like if somebody didn't do the due diligence and copyright the idea.
No comment.
No, I mean, what are they still active? I mean, they post something once every 6 months.
I actually don't know. I have no idea.
I know they launched and they stopped doing stuff, so I don't know.
Yep, I have no idea. All right, well, I think that'll do it for the show, guys. Support for Let's Go Blues Radio is brought to you in part by ID Life, the world's only truly personalized vitamin platform based on a health assessment of your DNA. Visit rockinthatidlife.com for more information. That's rockinthatidlife.com, and get 10% off by emailing Dustin at rockinthatidlife@gmail.com and tell him Let's Go Blues Radio sent you. And by Mike Burgoyne from Real Brokerage Realty. Visit strikewithmike.com today for all of your home buying and selling needs. That's strikewithmike.com. And by Center Ice Brewery, St. Louis's tasty hockey-themed beer. Check out your local beer vendors for availability. That's Center Ice Brewery beer. Please drink responsibly. That will wrap up episode 14 of season 12 of the original St. Louis Blues Hockey Podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks to those who participated in the YouTube and Facebook live chats during the live show. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. For Kirk Price and producer Austin, as well as the absent Bill Day, I'm Jeff Ponder, and this was Let's Go Blues Radio. Until next time, everyone, let's go Blues.
Let's go rhythm and blues. RITHUM, rhythm and blues. And happy birthday, Cooper. My son turned 12 today.
Oh, happy birthday, Cooper.
Let's go Blues.
Austin, you got this?
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.
You thought I was going to say, son of a bitch, didn't you?